Hey guys, Joe here with Local Pro Helper, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the power of morning routines. So 2 to 3 years ago, when I was still working 80 hours a week and still broke and everything else, the one thing I didn't have was a morning routine. Basically, my days consisted of, because I was working 80 hours a week, is I would wake up, basically just in time to roll out of bed, brush my teeth, shove something down my throat, make a gallon of coffee, and then run out the door and basically just work all day, for at least 12 hours. And then basically I would come home, shove something else in my mouth to eat, and then do some paperwork, and then pretty much crash. And what happened was nothing ever improved. It was always the same issue after the same issue. And we started to make some improvements here and there. But one of the biggest things that helped was a morning routine. Now, it depends on what time of the year, what I end up doing, or how devoted I am, because, I'm human as well. So there's, times where I'll wake up an hour and a half, 2 hours before everyone else, and I will spend quite a bit of time on my morning routine. And then there's other times, like actually this time of year, where I'm just, I basically get up about an hour or so earlier and I go through my morning routine. Now, what does my morning routine look like? Pretty much same as getting up, get dressed, and all that kind of stuff, brush your teeth, and then from there I'm getting my drink, and then I move on to these 3 items. And this in total takes about, you can probably get it done in about a half hour, 45 minutes. And but you'll see, the more time you spend for yourself, the better you set your day off, and then the better your day becomes. So this quote was really great, and it just kind of spoke to me, but it's, you'll never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret of your success is found in your daily routine. Because like everything else, you can't just do something once or twice or, a few times and expect it to make a big difference. It's kind of like working out. If you work out once or twice, you're just going to be sore, but you're not going to see any results. It's that commitment to doing some kind of exercise on a daily basis or every other day, so that way, 6 months down the line, you see the results. Now, you may not see them right away in the daily, but it might take 4 to 6 weeks till you start seeing visible results. But changes have been happening, it's just you don't notice them. So this is where it's super important. If you do this on a daily basis, your life will improve drastically. Okay, so here's the 3 pillars of what my morning routine looks like. The first one's going to be stretching. Second one's going to be meditation. And then the third one is more of a reflection and planning my day. Okay, so stretching. There's a few benefits as far as you decrease your chance of injury. So if you're actually still working in the field, I would highly suggest stretching. The next thing is it increases blood flow. You improve your posture, which I noticed myself when I was just recording videos and whatnot. I'm like hunched over, and I asked my wife, why didn't you ever tell me? And she's like, you've always been like this. So anyway, I've been working on different exercises and stretching for my back and shoulders, so that way I don't look like a hunchback. And then the last thing that I like is it actually calms my mind. So this is what I do first thing in the morning after I brush my teeth and get my tea and stuff together. And basically, so I do yoga, or was doing yoga. Once everything opens back up, I'll be going back to that. But when you start timing everything with, timing your breath along with your stretches, you almost get into this meditation type state, and it just, I like how I feel. So that's why I do it. And it kind of sets my day off in the right direction. The next thing I do after stretching is next I'm doing my meditation. The reason why I don't do meditation very first thing in the morning is because honestly, I will just fall asleep. So I've done that before, where it's typically the way I meditate is where I'm counting, count my breaths, and I'll basically do 30, I'll do 30 breaths. And it doesn't sound like that long, but when you're, inhaling for 3 to 4 seconds and then pausing for a second or two and then exhaling for 3 to 4 seconds, well, that's almost 10 seconds a piece. So it adds, it adds up. It's about 6-7 minutes of meditation. I will be working on going longer and longer, but this is what I currently do. And meditation, it's tough in the beginning. For me, I have ADD, and my mind just runs and runs and runs. It literally just never stops. And this is something that really does help with meditation. And here's a quote, and it's, your goal is not to battle with the mind, but to witness the mind. So along with ADD, I have where, I can be anxious or depressed, and a lot of times I just don't know why. And a lot of times what happens is I will, I start feeling some sort of way, and I immediately used to think, like, what the hell's my problem? And then once you start asking yourself that kind of question, well, then it just kind of takes you down the rabbit hole of, like, why do I feel like shit? And it's like, oh my God, I feel like shit. And, like, it just keeps going and going and going. But with meditation, what it helps you do is it separates yourself from your mind. So what it's like is kind of like you acknowledge that you have some kind of, anxiety or depression or whatever it may be. And you just realize that it's just a thought within your mind. And then you basically can just acknowledge it's there. And then from there, you can let that emotion go. The other thing I really like about meditation is it allows you to, if there's some kind of stressful situation, you can kind of separate yourself from that right away. So if you are normally quick to react or have outburst or something like that, well, what it allows you to do is take, a second or two and allows you to kind of process the information, and then you can make a better decision on how you're actually going to handle that situation. Because a lot of times we just react where we need to, handle it in a certain way. Okay. So the benefits of fasting, meditating, fasting will be another one because that's what I do as well. But there's a lot here. So as far as for the, with the memory, that's been a big help for me because for the longest time, I couldn't remember anything. I got to the point where I couldn't remember my son's birthday or even the year. Like, it was crazy what it was. And I couldn't remember anything. And this is all, everything started to change back in 2018 when I started to make a lot of changes to my life as far as diet and meditating and some other things. And magically, my memory's there. The other thing that was weird is, like, I couldn't even remember my favorite songs. Like, I couldn't remember the lyrics, which that kind of thing you should definitely know. There's some other things that a lot of people, especially in the United States, just don't believe in, but it can reverse the aging process. It just has to do a lot with stress. Stress within your body will just wreak absolute havoc on you. We have the stress here. The better grades. Now I never use this for during school just because I'm 37 now, but I do have an employee, or had an employee that was had a concussion and basically had to figure out ways to, like, he had memory loss and everything else, and issues with school grades and everything else, and meditating actually did help for them. It's supposed to help with mental health conditions. Like I said, it does help with anxiety, depression, that kind of thing. I didn't even fully read this, but there were some things that I liked in it, so I posted it. But as far as process emotions, like we just talked about, I don't know about the whole elderly feeling less lonely, but I am sure it would help. Like I said, it helps with anxiety and depression. Same thing with the meditation. I am don't smoke cigarettes or alcohol or anything like that, but I could see where this is going to help as well. Again, less anxiety, meditation, creativity. Now this is one of the annoying things with meditation is I will be sitting there trying to be silent and I keep on thinking of, like, great new ideas. So there's different ways you can kind of deal with that. It's like, one is like you almost pretend like that thought is a like piece of luggage, and you basically pack that thought into a piece of luggage, and then once you're done meditating, you kind of like unpack it. But that's something, things you can do. The next thing is reflecting and planning. So what are you hoping to accomplish today? And these are questions you should be asking yourself. That's what I ask myself, and it helps. What are you hoping to accomplish today? Because a lot of times if you don't think about this, you kind of just let life happen to you and you don't really make any improvements. The next thing is what's really important to you. Because at the end of the day, I forget this, I think it's in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I think. But basically it talks about, like, what are you, why is this going there? It talks about people that are constantly trying to climb like the corporate ladder or something like that, and it basically talks about like what happens that you've been trying to climb this corporate ladder, you're trying to accomplish some kind of task for 20, 30 years, but then what happens after all that? You get to the top of this ladder and you realize that you were climbing the wrong ladder the entire time, which is pretty powerful when you think about it. Because a lot of times when you are constantly working all the time or you're broke or whatever else, your main goal is just trying to get money. And what happens is because you're not going towards, like, you're kind of fighting against everything. So if you're not going towards, what makes you happy, well, you could spend your entire life trying to earn more money. And when you finally get it, you're still not happy. And that's where I was about, back in 2018-ish, where it wasn't rich or anything like that, but I finally was able to not work so damn hard and didn't have to worry about where money was. So I didn't have to check my account, 2 times a day like I used to. And I still wasn't happy. And then you're like, shit, what do I do then? And a really good quote for this is by Tony Robbins. I used to listen to some of his stuff, but I'm not into like the whole, rah-rah stuff anymore. But basically, it's the success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure, which I experienced firsthand in 2018, where you think, my entire life was chasing money, and then I realized it's not what made me happy. The next thing is, if you could accomplish just one thing, what would it be? So same thing, a lot of times we'll have a to-do list of 20 and 30 different things, and we might accomplish one thing, a few things here and there, but it doesn't really move the needle. So, try to pick just one thing you want to accomplish and just get that done that day. And then finally, are you heading towards pleasure or away from pain? So this is kind of similar to what I was just talking about, where as far as away from pain, so that could be like trying to earn more money or working harder or whatever it may be, but that's not really what's going to alleviate the issues. Now, I know this is easy to say when I finally, got to where I want to be, well, on my journey to where I want to be. But like I said, I spent my entire life trying to earn more and more money, and I finally got to that point around 2018, and I still wasn't happy. So now what I do is basically, if I enjoy doing something, I do it. If I don't like doing something, I don't do it. That's pretty much everything in my life now, and it's been working out pretty damn well. The next thing, for planning. Okay, so this is what I do next. And a lot of times I use this 5-minute journal. You can get it on Amazon or something like that, but it kind of goes into this. And basically, what are the 3 things that need to get done today? Whatever they may be. And don't look at it just from the business side of things. Like, it could be other things, such as like spending time with your family, spending time with your kids, going, today it's snowing, so I'm going to go sledding with my son. What has to get done? And it has to be everything, the important things. It's not just money. Next, have you prioritized by importance? So a lot of times, and what I used to do is like, you'd have this list of 3 things that need to be done, but you would typically do the easiest one first, just so you can knock it out of the way, because it's fulfilling when you have a list of 3 things, you knock one off, and now you only have 2. But the problem with that is, if you do the easiest to hardest, well, what'll end up happening is you get the easy stuff done, but the hard stuff never gets done. And it's usually the most important things never get done. So then you still have the same thing over and over. So even though you got some stuff done, it just didn't move the needle, and you really didn't accomplish as much as you want. Plus you look at like, if the number one thing is going to get you 30% closer, but the other ones only get you like 5% closer. Well, just doing one thing is better than doing, the 2 unimportant ones. The next thing is, have you scheduled the most important thing first? And this goes back to this. I forgot to put this. So if you do not schedule the most important things first, studies have shown that basically, your mind works better if you're starting, this without all the stress of the day and you're not exhausted from everything else. Well, your mind's just going to work better. And then, instead of the task, this could have taken you like 3 hours to get done, at the end of the day. But because you're starting first thing in the morning, it only might take you an hour. Okay. And this is really important as well, because as a business owner, you're used to just doing everything yourself because it's your name on it. And what ends up happening now is a lot of the stuff you can hand off to someone else. Now, this is what's allowed me to go from 80 hours a week to 15 minutes a day. And the number one thing is just having other people do the stuff for you. Now, is it going to always be right? No, but Would it always be right if you did it? No. There's definitely times, or a lot of times, what you'll see is as a business owner, you're probably the largest kink in the entire operation. So if you would allow your team to do the work for you instead, a lot more would get accomplished. But a lot of times, if you hold it on to yourself, well, you're busy already. So try giving it to someone else. Now, a lot of times people think, well, yeah, that's easy to say, but it's going to cost me more money. And that's true to have someone else do it. But, one of the major things is if you're still doing the actual installation of whatever service you provide, well, if you would just hire someone else to do it for you, or hire a sub crew or something like that, well, you'll see if you were working like 70 hours a week, you could probably go down to like 25 hours a week just by hiring someone else to do it for you. And again, like, yes, is it going to cost you money? Sure. But in the long run, it's going to save you a lot more money. If, in fact, you'll make more money by paying someone else to do things than you would be doing it on your own. And if you haven't seen it yet, the Profit Planner, it goes over this kind of thing where it'll show you, if by hiring someone else to do the installation for you, you'll go from that 70 hours to 35 hours. Like, you'll cut your hours in half. Not only that, it'll show you how much it'll cost you to do that, and it'll show you not only the cost, but it'll show you how many more jobs you need to book each week. And a lot of times, it's not as much as you think. So if you're typically already doing like 5 installations a week, so you do about 260 a year, well, you might have to go from 260 to 290 to make the same amount of money, but having someone else do it. But then again, you are going from like 70, 80 hours a week and cutting that in half. So it's well worth it. And because you're spending more time on the business instead, and you could spend it on selling to the customers and everything else instead of the installation, your sales will improve, everything else will improve, and you'll easily make those jobs. Okay. And that's what I have for you today. It's a little bit different than the other ones. I'm going to try to get more into like the mindset of things. We're going to go into like the nutrition, everything else, just because it's super important. It's some things that most people overlook because, especially mindset, if your mindset's screwed up, well, what'll end up happening is your body and your brain will intentionally sabotage all your efforts, and you won't know. Everything's on the subconscious level, so you don't know what's happening, but you're basically sabotaging yourself if your mindset's messed up. So that's why we're going to be diving into that kind of thing. So anyway, I hope you enjoy your day and start working on your morning routine.